This is going to be a series of lessons, and I'm going to put them into a playlist, and I'll do one a week. So you want to give each lesson about a week of practice before you move on to the next. And it's an introduction to the CAGED system and your major triads up and down the neck. I've been asked quite a few times to do this, and I'm going to do this the way that I teach my students. So I know that this works. There's many different ways you'll find online, but I find this approach works if you're sort of a beginner into this. So we start off first by learning 3 major triads for C major. We're going to start in C. CAGED starts with C, and the key of C is the easiest to learn because there's no sharps or flats that I find. Right, so the first shape we can think of, now we're just going to do these triads on the D, G and B strings. So there's no E, A and high E, it's just a middle D, G and B strings is all we're going to use. So if we think of this C major chord, our full chord shape, we've got root 3, 5, root 3. If we lose this ring finger, it starts on the 3rd D string, 3rd, 5th, root. So it's a triad. Our major chords are made up of them 3 notes. A root, a 3rd and a 5th. So this one starts on the 3rd, G string is the 5th, root on the B string. So it's basically the C major chord without that. I'm assuming you know your open chords before you look at this stuff. This one starts on the 3rd, so the next one's going to start on the 5th. And we do a bar on the 5th fret across the D, G and B, because that's the strings we're working with, and that's 5th, then root, then 3rd on the B. That's our next triad. Then we're going to move up into this triad shape. And here we've got root on the 10th fret of the D, major 3rd, G string 9th fret, 5th, B string 8th fret. So we've got 3rd, 5th, root, 5th, root, 3rd, root, 3rd, 5th. This is your root position, it's your root inversion. This first one we did is our first inversion, so it's the first inversion from the root. This one is the second inversion, starts on the 5th, it's the second inversion from the root. Practice them so you can see them in your sleep. Doing forwards and backwards. Now the next thing we do is we're going to add in 1 note per triad. So we're going to get this first triad shape, and we're going to start mapping out the full chord shapes now. So what we do, we know for this C chord that we add in this 3rd fret on the A string, and that builds our full C chord. If we go to this triad and add in that same note, 3rd fret A string, we can't do it with this finger using our first finger, so we switch and do this with our ring finger, and we put that first finger on the A string. So we're using the same root we did for this chord. You can forget the high E for now. So that's attached them 2 chords together. That's our C form for C. Then we go to the next letter of CAGED. That's our A form for C. We've just connected these 2 triads with that 1 note. That's all you want to sort of map out and visualize for now. Forget, you don't really need to think about the theory to begin with, just get the shapes down and how they connect up, and then we can start getting into the inner workings of the triads. And then I want to work on this triad. And what I teach people with this one is just reach over if you can and put your thumb on this C root. Low E string, C is there at the 8th fret. So we put this triad on and try and reach your thumb over and grab that C root. So you've got the triad and that root. So we're starting to construct and link these things together and map out the CAGED system. Like I said, there's going to be some gaps here and there, but that's what we start adding in further lessons. In the next lesson, we'll add in what's in the middle, but it's good to get these like anchor points understood before we start filling in everything else. So back to the D, G and B strings. And then we can add in that root. And then when we do this triad, switch it with your 3rd finger and add in that same root. There you've added in that, you've connected C major, C shape, C major, A shape. If it's still confusing you that this is the A shape, it doesn't matter, just for now, just learn the shapes and what's going on here. You can add in the theory afterwards and it makes sense. This can be pretty difficult for a beginner, just, you know, keep working on it. You've got to squish down them 3 notes. This is in this chord, but we're going to ignore it for now. We add it in later, it's going to be another level of information. For now you can just work with the D, G and B, and we're adding in this note. Move over to this shape, so there's a big gap here where there's going to be another shape, but we leave that till you've got, like I said, these anchor points sort of locked in. Try and get your thumb on, because when we start learning Hendrix and doing stuff with your guitar playing, you want this. There's the full bar chord. In case you're wondering, this triad comes from your big E form bar chord in that position. So if we study that position, our pinky on the 10th fret of the D, middle finger, 9th fret of the G, major 3rd, and then our bar here is covering up the 5 on the B. So out of this chord shape comes this triad. So the full shapes, but we're kind of reducing them down. That's part 1. Don't try and do too much of this stuff at once because it can get confusing. Do it in layers. We're just going to keep layering on top. That's the first thing you practice. Backwards and forwards. And you do it until you can visualize it. That means you look down at the fretboard and you can see this shit straight away. Them are our anchor points. Then add in that root on the A string. And then that attaches to this triad. That's part 1.